What's up? How are you guys doing? In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to create interesting and awesome bass lines. So in this video, I'm going to dive into a lot of theory. Just buckle up and be prepared. I know that some of you won't follow what's going on with all of it, but what you should walk away with is the concepts of what I'm going to teach you. So let's dive right in. So before we even talk about how to create a bass line, we have to make sure we understand the chords and also the chord progression. So first I created this chord progression. So you can see it's C major 7, and then there's B minor 7 flat 5, going into an E7 flat 9, going into an A minor 7, and then D minor 7, G7, and then repeats back to C major 7. So let's talk about the Roman numeral analysis of this progression. So our home key is C, right? So 1 at C major 7, and then our 6 is A minor 7, and our 2-5 is the D minor 7, G7, and then our B minor 7 flat 5 and E7 is our minor 2-5 of 6. So the minor 2-5 of A minor 7. So next, let's write down all the chord tones of the chords. So basically chord tones are just the notes that make up each of these chords. So I won't go too deep into how to construct these chords because that'll probably be for another video. So for now, if you have any of these chords, just look them up on Google or something like that. So the first strategy we can use is just playing the root. So the root meaning the first note of the chord. So next strategy we're going to try is called a root octave. So basically the first note of the chord, and you're going to jump octaves. You can do above or below. The third strategy we can do is called a root fifth motion. So the root of the chord and the fifth of the chord. So the fourth strategy we can use is using chord tones. So chord tones are just notes we can use within the chord. Now we're just including the thirds and the sevenths. So it's important that the bass lines we make leads into the next chord. And now the fifth strategy we can use is what we called a scalar approach. So what we're going to do is create bass lines based off the scales that can be played inside the chord. So for example, for that C major 7, we can use the Ionian scale to create our bass line. So another very important point is when you do this, try to make sure your bass lines lead into each other. You want your bass line from C major 7 leading into that B minor 7 flat 5, and so on and so forth. So here's what it sounds like. So the sixth strategy we can use is called the chromatic approach. And the chromatic approach is basically like the scalar approach, but we're going to approach a note a half step away. So in this case, we're going to try to approach our target note, like B, right, of the next chord by either a half step above or half step below. And finally, the seventh strategy we can use is what we call enclosures. So this is like a combination between the scalar approach and the chromatic approach. So basically, we're going to approach a target note, for example, B. We're going to approach it either up and down or down and up. So what we're doing is enclosing the target note that we want. So for this next example, I'm just basically going to combine all the strategies and use rhythmic variation to create a more interesting bass line. So what I'm doing and what I'm going to show you is a little overboard. So not recommended, but this is just to demonstrate how you can use these concepts for your next project to create a more interesting bass line. So I hope you guys learned something today. And remember, your bass lines sometimes doesn't have to be that complex. And what I did was just to give you an example of the possibilities that are out there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson. And remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week.